Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
Thank you for the perfect pronunciation of my name. I don't have to teach you how to speak my name. I don't care. But super happy to be here. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, everyone. Great talks before mine. If you're watching this, the video bundle, I highly recommend to watch the first talks before me. But now let's try to connect more stuff, connecting BigQuery and Google Search Console with log file analysis. I don't have to convince you that SEO is important. I don't have to convince you that log file analysis is interesting. But I will start you with one little story about myself, that I was preparing the slides for this talk. And I was talking with my wife about some back pain that I have that is consistent, and she gave me some suggestions. And I didn't want her efficiency on fixing the problem. I just wanted some ergonomic stuff. So I went to Amazon and I bought a bunch of stuff and didn't fix my problem really, which made me think, why we do that? Why we don't fix the problem from the root? Why do we always try to give simple solutions to complex issues? And then coming back to the topic of today's talk, is that before ranking, before crawling, before indexing, we have like the big bang of SEO would be log file analysis. And then when I search for big bang, I don't know why, but Yandex Image brought me these guys. I don't know them. And if you don't use Yandex Image, you maybe should. They don't care about copyrights infringement, and they're very good if you don't like to use AI, like some people. So that made me think about this joke from Marte, our competitor from Idealo, that maybe the Jaguar should have hired an SEO. So if you are a car or if you are an animal and you want to hire an SEO consultant, I'm always here. But before we move any further, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Paulo. It's my second time in Brighton. And last time I also spoke about BigQuery because it is a deal breaker. Not a deal breaker. It's really important for me to use BigQuery because of the scale of websites that I've been working with. And last time in April, I showed how to connect to Google Search Console. And this time I'm adding another step with log file analysis. So you saw in the first slide that I'm the host of SEO Game Show. And SEO Game Show is one thing that we're launching very soon. Gus Peloja and we are hosts of SEO Game Show, where you will answer questions, and the more SEO related questions, and the more right answers you have, more money you donate to charity of your choice, of course. We already have a list of guests in place, but if you want to become a guest, you can go to SEO Game Show. There is a button, be a guest. Or if you want to be a sponsor, you can always go to the form for becoming a sponsor. I don't have a course, I don't have a newsletter. I just want to share knowledge and maybe make your life a little bit easier and also have some fun with the SEO Game Show. Now, back to the topic again. We have log file analysis, same image as Beth used. Log file are very complicated text to read, and then it shows how your server reads your visitors' information. There's no filter. You might be thinking, wait, isn't that Google Analytics? Isn't that Google Search Console? Yes and no, because Google Analytics and Google Search Console, they filter your information, and most importantly, they sample it so you don't have all information you should. And it's very expensive when you get to very large websites. Some of you might be thinking that Google Analytics is free. It's not when you get to hundreds of thousands of pages. More important than any of that, wait, what is that? Yeah, it's about the query. I don't know how Kelvin got my Slack during the presentation, but anyways, we'll get to the query part in a second. It's not owned by you. Google Analytics is not owned by you. If you have any questions about that, remember Google Analytics 4, when it was launched, you have no saying in it. You had to learn. So learning BigQuery, learning log file analysis is very important because then you have control over your own data, where you get them. And then just a little context here. On the bottom right, you have the 5 whys and 2 ages from journalism to define something. So we already went through some of them. Where you get them from your server, as Beth showed, or you can get them from your IT department. So it doesn't hurt to ask them. In my case, I have a link that I can download all files from the last 7 days, and I save them on Google Drive. It doesn't take a lot of space, and I just use what I want. Now let's go to the when you use log file analysis. And it's pretty much when you make a change on your website. So if you have new sections of your website, you might want to run the first log file analysis to see how Google has been crawling those sessions and how often. You can get a lot of information, how heavy the pages are, how much time it takes for Google to actually crawl them. And then when I say Google, I am actually meaning whatever bot. So it can be Bing bot, Google bot, Yandex bot, whatever from your choice. If you have, in my case, I have some fashion content that every year it gets old. So last year, I don't know, pattern dresses were trendy and this year they're not anymore. I don't have traffic for those pages anymore. And I don't want Google wasting its time going to those pages. To avoid that, I run a log file analysis to see how often Google go to those pages. And if it's not going anymore, then I might remove those pages and redirect them to something else. If pages are not performing as they should be, also another opportunity for you to run a log file analysis, check the Google Search Console clicks, and then you can understand if they have an issue or something has changed that you have to take action. And finally, after any change, you run again the same log file analysis that you run the first time. Which tools you can use? So of course, you can use one of our beautiful sponsors, but I have some of the most searched terms for log file analysis. And the one that I use is Screaming Frog because it's simple to use. And for my analysis, it's good enough. But you might want to go to Logflare that they have 5.2 million events for free, or Content King if you're already a Content King customer. And OnCrawl also does a great job on being very specialized on log file analysis. So you can do your research. On the bottom left, you can see all the log file analysis that I have separated on my website. And you'll probably notice that there are some QR codes throughout the presentation. If you scan them, you can go to my website, download the presentation, see all the links, so you don't have to take notes. You might be thinking that you can do that with Google Search Console, case by case. BigQuery, it's coming. I promise, Kelvin. Don't be in a rush. Google Search Console, you can do it. It's one by one. It's a tedious task. If you have a very important page, one very important page, you go to Google Search Console and you check. You go to the inspect URL and you see what's going on. In most cases, you have sections of the website you want to crawl, you want to check, you want to understand. I have this website that has millions of crawl requests, but Google only gives me 1,000 pages. Try to convince me that Google crawls every page 300,000 times. That would be more than once per second for 32 years. So I don't know if Google is crawling my website that much only in these pages. When you go to your log file analysis in BigQuery, you'll be able to see each page, how many times it gets crawled every day. Now you start to use your log file analysis. Yes, with BigQuery. No, not yet. Just one more section and then we'll be there. I have the first taste of SEO game show for you. If Google cannot crawl your robots text because it's a 500 error, what happens? You get the index right away. Google doesn't crawl your site for 12 hours. It depends on the site background color or nothing. So if you think it's the first one, give one clap for me, please. If you think it's the second one, 2 claps. If you think it's the third one, no. And the third one, nothing. Not the fourth one. I am so sorry, but you were wrong. It's the second one. And let me even read this because it's a very specific text. For the first 12 hours, Google doesn't crawl your website anymore. So it doesn't de-index it because it's a 500 error. But after 12 hours, it will consider the last robots text file it had. And then after more 12 hours, it will de-index your website completely. So having a 500 error is much worse than having a 400 error in a robots text. That's very specific, I know. If you have a 400 error in your website, in your robots text file, Google just considers nothing and crawls everything, which you don't want because you don't want Google wasting time on pages that it shouldn't. But if it sees a 500, then it takes these steps that I just mentioned. Another thing you can use with your log files is to fix the discovered but not currently not indexed report. As you can see here, we started taking actions with the pages that we thought were more important to be fixed. And what drives me nuts is that Google, in the discovered but currently not indexed report, they don't show when it's discovered. It says last crawled. I want to know when they were discovered, not when they were last crawled, because it doesn't make sense. Having control of your log file analysis is much more important because of that. You have all the information you might want. And now, if you remember one thing from this talk is the SEO game show, and the second is, so it's two things, the nifty trick that I have for you. In Google Search Console, you can verify 1,000 properties. If you have a very large website, this becomes useful, and because for every property, you can crawl 2,000 URLs per day. That gives you 2 million URLs per day to be crawled. There's the limit per second, but I think you're not reaching it. And then to do that, you verify your domain using the DNS. So you go and you upload a little text file to your registrar. Then you use a Python code to verify all of them in Google Search Console from a list of, I don't know, text list or a Google Sheets list. And after doing that, you have access to information broken down by different properties. Again, if you scan the QR code, you can go to my website and then you can reach out to Saji, the Tech SEO manager at Stylight that created this code. And finally, you can see here in Screaming Frog that I go to configuration and then I enable the Google Search Console URL inspection and use multiple properties. So you can get clicks per segment, you can get impressions per segment, you can get everything even based on the on more than 16 months, because if you start exporting it to BigQuery, you have unlimited data. It's only based on the number of roles you have and how much you pay on BigQuery. And the BigQuery costs are not even that high. In my previous talk, I shared that I spent like 2 cents per month. So I think everyone here can spare 2 cents. So I think now we have the BigQuery part. Yes, you're welcome, Kelvin. Now it's the most interesting part because we're starting to get things into a bigger scale and we don't have the time limit anymore. We don't have 16 months to care. I don't know why Google Search Console doesn't make it 24 months so we can have year-over-year comparison easily, but I guess to each their own. We can fix that using BigQuery and everything else that we discussed today. The easiest way is that you export your BigQuery file to Google Drive or into Google Sheet, and then you can use Looker Studio, you can use whatever other tool to combine them, Power BI and whatever tool, or you import your log file analysis files to Google Drive, and then you just import them to Screaming Frog or whatever tool as you need them. In my case, as I told you, I have the last 7 days every 7 days. So I keep downloading them and I keep using them as I need. Especially helpful when I'm working with the content team in my company and we launch a new section of the website or a new topic and I want to understand specifically if that section or that topic is performing well. So I create a segment in Screaming Frog, and I verify that specific case. Now, let's go from small brain to big brain moments with how to use and some specific cases. So combining internal links from Screaming Frog with crawl rate. You want pages that have a higher crawl rate to be the center hub of your website to link to pages that you want to be crawled more. So imagine you just launched a new section of your website and you want it to be crawled. You check on your log file analysis, you understand it's not happening as it's supposed to be. So you crawl your website, you export internal links in bulk using Screaming Frog. That's literally one click. Then you get your log file analysis that you've been saving, and you see which pages are being less linked. So you sort by descendant. So you have the pages that need a little bit more love. If that makes sense, because it's the hottest dresses from 2012, you don't care about that page anymore. You can prune that content, you can just cut it off. If it makes sense to keep this page, then you increase internal links in the content of your page, in widgets, whatever. Make Google find those pages. Now, there's a tongue twister here. The BigQuery queries per page versus crawl rate. So in BigQuery and in my last talk, I shared how to see how many queries per page you have. That's also similar with what we learned today as well. You get that report, and then you check sorting from descending with the crawl rate. Again, you see the pages that have more queries ranking for it, and then you see if by seasonality or by old content, it's time to remove it or not. This is really helpful for fashion content, but it's also very helpful for news content or for if you have a TV guide or something like that. Now, discovered but not crawled. It's a report that I hate from Google Search Console because it's very narrow. You export that report, you start with 1,000 pages. And then ideally you fix them and you get a new 1,000 pages. And just one parenthesis here, that report is 28 delay report. So after you fix, you have to wait for a while. But after exporting it and checking the important pages, which you can do manually because it's only 1,000 pages, or you can connect with Google Search Console and see the pages that have more impressions. You see if they're being crawled enough. If they are too heavy, they can be too heavy because the JavaScript file is too large, if the images are taking forever to load, and you can even connect to the page speeds insights API inside Screaming Frog to get the information more specifically. I was talking with the Screaming Frog guys yesterday, and they are preparing some interesting surprises here. And then you can also export the internal links and see if these pages that are important for you need more internal links. Another very interesting thing that Screaming Frog allows us to do is to create segments. So I wrote a LinkedIn post. I think it's the LinkedIn post that I have more interactions with because people thought it was really interesting. If you create segments, and segments, it's basically like a regex that you can say, if the page contains football, put it under sports. If the page contains jacket, put it under fashion. You do that, you save that, and you use that forever. Because with Screaming Frog, you can always import files. Then you check their performance, but then the log file performance, how often Google has been crawling these pages, and you can separate it by segments. That's the beauty of using Screaming Frog as a crawler and as a log file analyzer. And then you can create XML sitemaps based on the segments that you want to be more crawled. So in my case, I would create something like pages with a lot of impressions that are not getting a lot of clicks and are not getting enough crawl rate. So I tell Google to go to these pages using XML sitemap. And that XML sitemap, I can also check with log file analysis to see if Google is going to that XML sitemap. So it's a loop that you can make Google be closed in the environment where you want it. And then Google doesn't waste time in pagination, doesn't waste time in sorting and other things that we know Googlebot's not really smart, and we cannot rely on it because just think of the task of crawling the whole internet. And then after doing that, you even can check before and after and see the pages that are losing traffic. So this is a very nice report. And if you're curious about the back pain, I didn't fix it, but a standing desk really helps. So thank you very much and see you next birthday.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Demand Sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.